Hello, everybody. It's George from Ireland. So, welcome back to the channel once again. So, here I am forecasting that the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Rishi Sunak, shall face a leadership challenge, not in the remainder of March, but before the summer is out. We've not quite got to summer, and why it's going to happen, because there is increasingly noise coming out of the Westminster Village that a significant faction of the Conservative Unionist Parliamentary Party is deeply disillusioned with him. So he came in at the end of October 2022, a breath of fresh air after the cataclysmic Truss maladministration, 49 days to clean things up. Now, actually, Truss had performed a volte-face right before he came in. You remember, she dumped kamikaze Kwasi. Dr. Kwasi Kwarteng was out as Chancellor Exchequer. She brought in Jeremy Hunt, and then he returned to more conventional fiscal policy. And Truss is out there going around the world saying, no, she really did the right thing with these drastic unfunded tax cuts, even though there was an expert consensus that this was going to be catastrophic. And if it was the right thing, her policy, why did she not double down? Why did she turn around? She could have persisted. But anyway, so he did stabilize the situation, and the Conservative poll ratings went up for a bit. He didn't have much of a honeymoon himself, but some people wanted out because they could never forgive him for not being Boris Johnson. And remember, he did more to bring down Johnson than anybody else. Now, Johnson is not the force to be reckoned with that he used to be. He's not even in Parliament, but he does still have a few groupies. And there are not many Truss fanatical supporters left. So after 14 years in office, there are a few baubles left. People who've been passed over for promotion, they are rancorous. Other people were dismissed and they're embittered. People reckon they're going to lose their seats. They've got nothing else to lose. You know, they've only got a few months left. So they'll be out by the end of January 2025, probably a few months before that. So here we are on the fag end of this government, like 10 months to go at most. So they can afford to be a bit brave. Because at the beginning in office, when they're riding high, they decided to toe the party line. So long as you suck up, there's a chance of getting promotion, at least being reselected and carrying on. And therefore, he's got very little stick or carrot to offer them. But he's failed to deliver on his pledges. Remember, over a year ago, was a list of pledges, his reboot in January 2023. He's going to bring inflation down. And okay, that's the one he's had actually managed. He was going to stop the boats of the Rwanda plan. Not a single person has been deported to Rwanda. And it's true that illegal immigration is not quite as high as it used to be, but it's still rather high, much higher than it was, before the 2019 election. The NHS waiting lists have not come down. I can't remember what else there was. Crime is pretty high. Public services on a parlous state. There has at least been a tax cut, which wasn't actually a promise of his, or should I say national insurance cut, which actually I'm very glad about. So one of the few real achievements from a Conservative perspective he's had. Who'd be my pick for Tory leadership? It would be Kemi Badenoch. Anyway, so people's just saying that he's failing to connect and that he's unpopular. I think he's dragging the party down, not dragging them up. So some people say, is another case of ADT, any damn thing. If a patient is terminally ill, if there is no treatment that will work, and there's this new experimental treatment, we might as well give it a shot. It can't make it worse. The person's doomed, and there's just a slender chance this will prolong the person's life by a bit. Carrying on this trajectory, the Conservatives face a massive meltdown defeat towards the end of this year. So ceteris paribus, Labour's going to be in there with a majority. And recent opinion polls show that Reform UK was only 4 percentage points behind the Conservative Party. Now, that is slightly silly, season. They won't come ahead of the Conservative Party or at parity, and they probably won't get a single MP. But that is really a damning indictment of Rishi Sunak's leadership, that he doesn't connect, is obviously used against him. He's a highly successful banker. And all right, he married a very wealthy man's daughter and has got some of that wealth. The people want to get rid of him and give somebody else a chance. So, if you bring in whoever it is, Penny Mordaunt, for example, it might get better. It can't really get any worse. But no, I think it would actually get a little bit worse. Not that there's anything particularly wrong with Penny Mordaunt. I mean, okay, she's unintelligent, over-promoted. Has never had an original thought in her life, but courage and individuality and originality are terrible vices in politics. So yes, I mean, I agree with you that Sunak is very impressive educationally and his banking career. In some ways, is rather a lightweight. Doesn't seem to have bedrock beliefs. He was a head boy, and I think it probably tells you all you need to know, that he's a team player. He's an arse licker. He'll do anything for the baubles. He's really invertebrate, and he won't speak up for human rights in Palestine, anything like that. So rather loathsome, actually. But, he inherited a lot of his problems, but he does bear some responsibility for those, collective cabinet responsibility. He was Chancellor of the Exchequer for a couple of years, all through COVID. Okay, good in some ways, but we spent too much. So whose fault is it? It's his. He better look at the man in the mirror. He can't try and cast the blame on somebody else. But the electorate really would be hacked off if there's yet another Conservative leadership contest. Now, some of the plotters say we could do this quite quickly. Remember, when Liz Truss was forced out, we managed to do it in just a few days because there's only one candidate, and Rishi Sunak, was elected unopposed. We could do that again, because what a poisoned chalice there would be. Who would want to lead the Conservative Party in possibly its worst ever defeat? You look at the 8 leadership contenders from the last contested election in the summer of 2022. Okay, well, Rishi Sunak, that's him. Liz Truss is gone, and then Jeremy Hunt, he came last. He's yesterday's man. Nadhim Zahawi has all sorts of problems with the tax man, and who became that was Penny Mordaunt, who a lot of people thought was going to get it. I thought was going to get it. She was the third place candidate, followed by Kemi Badenoch, followed by Suella Braverman. I think Kemi wouldn't quite get it. Suella Braverman, I think, is probably too unpopular and risks losing her seat. And have I missed anybody out? Oh, Tom Tugendhat, who's pale, male, stale, a bit bland, and probably too much in the Liberal wing of the party to win. So, but it could still be a contested election. That could take a couple of months. So, anyway, I think that they will put the letters in, but I don't think they're going to be able to gather them till the end of the spring anyway. You need only about 50 of those letters, because there's a percentage of those letters to the chair of the 1922 committee to force the vote of confidence. Remember, the Conservatives have lost a couple of MPs. Lee Anderson defected. There was a by-election loss, so that's why you need fewer than you did before. But the thing is, there have been 5 votes of confidence in the Conservative leader since this thing was invented in the mid-90s, since 1995, when John Major forced one deliberately in himself to really underscore his leadership. And the incumbent has won 4 of the 5. But nobody has survived as leader for more than 2 years afterwards. But anyway, Rishi Sunak's not going to survive for long afterwards. If someone else today, he's going to survive for 10 months because he's going to lose the election and he's going to tender his resignation. So I don't think they'll quite be able to do it. It might seem crazy and suicidal, but there is a method to their madness that it would, as John Redwood said in 1995, no change, no chance. If the Tories were to carry on as they were then under John Major, they face a disastrous defeat. Now, in that supposition, he proved to be correct, but I suspect it would have been slightly worse with John Redwood at the helm, who came across as an alien. So, for all sorts of reasons, I think that he will face this leadership contest, but he will win, because the safer thing to do is to carry on with him. Remember, strong and stable? It seems like a sick joke now. And you'd ought to boot him out just as a few policies are beginning to bear fruition. Inflation coming down, and maybe Rwanda plan would work by the end, as in at least a few people deported. I don't see it. Yet another defeat in the House of Lords. People feel a bit more pennies in their pocket with that national insurance cut. So the Conservative Party constantly scrapping amongst themselves. They should save their fire for Labour. All right. Thank you for watching my channel. Please make sure you subscribe and donate on PayPal. Goodbye, everyone.